Apple is known as one of the best marketing companies in the world, except for some reason they are horrible at marketing their TV shows. But that all changed with Severance. Apple finally found a way to sell a show so perfectly just by immersing it into our daily lives. And I bet other studios are going to copy this strategy, so let's take a look.
Apple TV Plus.
When Apple TV Plus first started, it was kind of a joke. They gave away a free year with the purchase of an Apple device, and no one ever thought it would compete with something like Netflix. But then, even as some high-quality shows started getting added to the streaming service, Apple didn't do much marketing. Apple barely promotes their new TV shows. That's probably why I've never even heard of some of these shows before, even though they have some big A-list actors in them. But honestly, I think the marketing problems run deeper than that. The biggest issue is the name of the streaming service itself, Apple TV Plus. But don't you dare confuse that with an Apple TV, you know, the device that you can buy. I mean, seriously, who landed on this branding? The name sounds like you have to own an Apple TV to stream Apple TV Plus, but nope, you can stream it on any streaming device or smart TV. They seriously should consider a rebrand. Let's see, you watch TV, so how about Apple Watch? Oh, that's not gonna work. What about Apple Vision? Oh, yeah, this is gonna be harder than I thought. But you know what? They're a $1 trillion company. They can figure it out. All right, so yes, clearly the name Apple TV Plus could use some work. But what about marketing the actual content in the app? If you're like me, there's so much available to stream that it's hard to even know where to start. The competition is steep. So how could Apple stand out from the crowd and get people talking about their content? As Severance Season 1 was being released, we caught an early glimpse at how Apple was going to market the show, and that's by blurring the lines between fiction and reality. So in March of 2022, after the first half of Season 1 had been released, Apple released the Lexington Letter on Apple Books. Now that tells a story of someone who had worked for Lumen Industries, basically expanding the Severance universe further and sneaking in more plot clues along the way. What's crazy is this has 6,000 reviews on Apple Books, and it's referenced on the Severance subreddit constantly. So whatever effort the team put into it definitely paid off. And this turned out to be a good example of content marketing. Oh, and during that first season, they also started posting on LinkedIn. That's right, they set up a real company profile for Lumen Industries. Apple apparently has a team dedicated to posting content about a fictional company on LinkedIn. This is what's so fun about Apple's approach here. They meet viewers where they are, and so they make the show feel like an authentic part of our everyday lives. I might see a post from Lumen Industries right after a post from Coca-Cola. Of course, I doubt that any of this really moved the needle on Season 1's success. It was more about strengthening a community that had naturally built up around this really good show. But regardless, it obviously did well because by the time Season 2 came around, Apple went all in. You see, somebody increased the marketing budget. Maybe the ghost of Steve Jobs haunted the Apple TV Plus marketing team. I don't know. But Apple finally started working their marketing magic on Severance with big hopes that it would translate to more subscribers. Here's everything that's happened so far, and please try to enjoy every marketing strategy equally. Okay, so they worked with ZipRecruiter to show job listings at Lumen. They slapped a computer from Severance onto the home screen of Apple.com. There were these training videos uploaded.
My name is Mr. Milchick.
An ad with CEO Tim Cook, and a clever email memo for Lumen employees. Plus, they ramped up content marketing too, releasing an ebook and audiobook for the UUR featured in the show. They also launched a podcast with Ben Stiller and Adam Scott discussing each episode. And people even called in and asked questions about working at Lumen. Then there's this 8-hour-long video that's just music from the show, remixed by a popular electronic music group, which is actually really well done and fun to put on in the background while you work. All of this combined into a pretty clever, immersive marketing strategy that mixed the Severance world with our own. It's the building blocks that made me start to believe that Lumen might be a real company. But as much as all of the other marketing was surprising and realistic, none of it would come close to what would happen next. So it was January 14th, a normal Tuesday, where people were just busy commuting home from work. But then something in Grand Central Terminal caught their eye. It was a huge glass cube, and inside was a full replica of the Lumen office in Severance. From the props to the computers, it looked just like the show. Assembling that is a pretty impressive feat. But then things got even more real. All at once, the actors from Severance walked through the crowd and into the office in character. Apparently it was Adam Scott's idea to have them casually working in the middle of Grand Central. So they did, for 3 hours.
None of us peed at all for 3 hours.
Wow.
This is such a fun concept. They're basically putting on a live show while people are gathering around, crowding, taking pictures. And even Ben Stiller, who directed a lot of the show, was in the audience taking pictures too. When this happened, I was a little excited, but mostly insanely jealous because I would have loved to see it in person. I can't believe people just stumbled upon this on their way home from work. With this stunt, Apple pulled off a masterclass in guerrilla marketing. The pop-up was so surprising and crazy that it naturally led to an insane amount of online content. Every social media platform was blowing up with different angles from the event, plus lots of press and news articles. It generated a ton of excitement about the show, with comments saying they started watching Severance because of the pop-up. People were also pretty quick to point out the irony of a crowd gathering to watch these characters work. Just like how in the show they're so closely monitored by Lumen while they're working all day.
Lumen is listening.
So the question, of course, is, did all of these unconventional marketing efforts pay off? Well, let's look at the results. Severance is maybe the most discussed TV show right now. It feels like a cultural phenomenon and everyone is talking about it. It recently surpassed Ted Lasso as Apple TV Plus's most watched show, even though Ted Lasso has 3 seasons under its belt. The streaming platform saw a 126% increase in new subscribers in the lead up to the show's release. Now that may partly be because they offered a free weekend during that time, but I'm sure a lot of people signed up, binged season 1, and then stayed subscribed for season 2. Okay, but what about actual earnings? Well, one estimate guesses that the show has generated more than $200 million for Apple TV Plus. For context though, the budget for season 2 was also $200 million, so I guess they're kind of breaking even. But of course, the real value here goes beyond that. You know, the work Apple does is mysterious and important.
The work is mysterious and important.
But I believe the big goal here is to drive more long-term subscribers to Apple TV Plus. That way they keep engaging with their growing library of content. After Severance, maybe viewers watch Ted Lasso next, where they see an absurd amount of product placement. Like 230 times over 14 episodes. Come on, Apple, that's a little much. Or maybe subscribers will give Apple more money by bundling their streaming service with something like Apple One. Services are a key driver of Apple's growth and actually make up 21% of their revenue right now. That's higher than I would have thought. To put it simply, Apple is using Apple TV Plus as another piece of their puzzle. Their goal is just to lock you into their ecosystem, whatever it takes. So, will future shows copy how Apple marketed Severance? Probably. With a society that's chronically online, it only makes sense to mix fiction into our digital world. We've seen it before with The Boys on Amazon Prime, so it's obviously a growing trend. Now, as far as the pop-up goes, I really hope that other studios see Severance, get creative, and do their own similar stunt. It's just way more fun when companies surprise people so well that they have to talk about the show. At the end of the day, Apple convinced us to pay a monthly subscription to a huge corporation just to watch a TV show about an evil corporation. Now that's good marketing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this, and praise Keir.